All right, so once again, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Texas Net MS4 training. My name is Jake Nguyen. I am with EPA headquartered. I have quite a few folks from Texas here as well. I'll just give everyone a chance to introduce themselves.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Rebecca Villalba, the team leader for the stormwater team in the Water Quality Division at TCEQ. Welcome to our Texas Net MS4 webinar training.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jesse Gres Alamia. I'm a permit writer in the stormwater team here in Austin, Texas. Thanks, everyone, for joining.
We also have Hannah Kobos, I believe. If I'm mispronouncing her name, please let me know, guys. She was with us for a second, but I guess she had to log off to make sure that her computers are okay. So she will be joining us again in a few minutes, hopefully back in time for the demonstration portion. Okay, so let me turn this thing on. All right, so a few details about today's webinar. We do have a large number of participants, so just so that everyone know, everyone's line is automatically muted. If you need to, or if you feel the need to have a verbal questions, please let us know. Put it in the chat for one of us. We will unmute you and have you ask your questions. Otherwise, please utilize the Q&A box. We have the Q&A box, question and answers. If you were to open that, put your questions in. We will monitor the questions and answer any questions that come in as best we can. Please do note that if you put in a questions that might be a little bit too specific to your facility or require a bit of research, we might not be able to answer your questions right here on the spot. However, we are logging all of those questions, and we will be able to reach back out to you afterward with an answer. All right. And as you know, this training is specific for the NetMS4 platform, and it will not go over the Texas the 040000 permit that's required, or the general permit compliance. All right, and then if you have any questions later on, you can contact the TCEQ team at that number there, or you can email them at swgp@tceq.texas.gov. All right, and I've already introduced myself earlier. I just realized our product owner's not here, but it's okay. I'm here for you. We have our TCEQ team. That is their names there, if you didn't catch it earlier. All right, and here is today's agenda. So we're going to go over why we switched over to electronic reporting. And then we're going to go into some reminders regarding deadlines from Rebecca. And then I will go into how to create your CDX account or access NetMS4, as well as how to access your NOI. And then Hannah will join us and do a live demonstration on the NOI, as well as speak about the waiver form. And then we're going to go into public permit lookup and how to submit your change NOI, and then the resources, and then any additional Q&A towards the end. And as I stated earlier, please put in your questions in the Q&A box. Once again, if we can answer them on the spot, we will. And then if you have anything that you need to go over during the sessions, please put that in as well. I don't mind you guys putting that in. As Rebecca, Jesse, and everyone else from the TCQ team will be monitoring questions, they'll just stop me and let me know that we need to go over a certain section again, okay? All right, Texas MS4 electronic reporting. So some of the reasons that we switched over to electronic reporting. All right. First of all, it's automation, it's shifting from the paper to electronic process. All right. Secondly, time saving. Time and resource for the regulated community and states can be shifted to other program area. Improve transparency, serve to elevate the importance of data and environmental performance. And lastly is modern technology, tools to increase data accuracy, timeliness, completeness, and consistency for all of the different NIPDES programs or NPDES programs. All right, with that, I will switch it over to Rebecca.
Okay, so again, I'm Rebecca Villalba. Thank you for joining us at this Texas NetMS4 webinar. So just a couple of little reminders before we get into the actual demonstration. And go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So as you know, this is all about our Texas Phase 2 or Small Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System or MS4 general permit. Really quick, the permit was signed and issued and effective on August 15, just a little bit a month ago. And the permit will expire 5 years, which will be August 15 of 2029. So right now we are in the 5-year permit cycle. You can go to our webpage, our TCQ General Permits webpage, and you can find our 2024 issued general permit, the fact sheet to the general permit, as well as the document that we call a response to comments document. So all those three are available on our website. Please know that, this is as Jake said, it is all about electronic reporting. So this general permit now has moved on to the electronic reporting stage of the world so that we can be in compliance with the rule that says that by December of 2025, all general permits, applications, reports need to be submitted electronically. Next slide, please. So as you know, we moved on from our general permit, TXR 40,000, that was a 2-step general permit. We moved it now to a comprehensive general permit. So what does that mean in case you've missed, some of our presentations or you haven't yet read the permit and fact sheet? So our permit before it was a 2-step permit where you needed to submit the stormwater management program or the SWAMP to us for review and technical review, and you had to publish notice in the newspaper. So it was a lengthy process, a lot of, back and forth. So we moved it now to a comprehensive general permit for the master general permit now has all the permit conditions and requirements that an MS4 needs to do. And then now you as the MS4 needs to develop or update your stormwater management program to comply with those requirements prescribed in that comprehensive general permit. So you no longer have to submit your stormwater management program to us. However, you do need to make sure that you develop it, you revise it, you update it to meet the permit requirements before you submit your notice of intent, before you submit your application. Because as you're going to see, you need your stormwater management program. You need to have read the permit and understand what it's requiring so that when you go into the application process, you already have that information ready so that you can answer the questions in the NOI form that you're going to be filling out through NetMS4. So make sure that you spend your time, reading the permit and updating and revising your stormwater management program. And again, the stormwater management program does not need to be submitted to us. Please note that all NOIs and waiver applications must be submitted through NetMS4 by you, the small MS4 operator, by February 11th of 2025. That is the deadline. So you have all this time to update your SWAMP and submit the application. I do want to say that if you do not have a computer, you probably are not listening to us, but you can go ahead and get an electronic waiver from electronic reporting. Then you can do a paper application, but for that you have to meet the criteria. Thank you. Next slide. Regarding annual reports, please note that NetMS4 still does not have the annual report for Texas. That's the next step that we're working with EPA and the contractors to go ahead and build that module. So for now, the reporting period, if you are going to start your reporting period between now and December of this year, it depends when you submit your NOI and gets approved, then that date starts your first reporting period and it will end December 1st of this year. If your application is submitted and approved this year, then you might have 2 or 3 months that you need to submit an annual report. That will be due March 31st of 2025. However, if the system is not yet ready, you will need to submit that via paper. If NetMS4 is ready, then you'll submit it electronically. So please stay tuned for that, and we will also have a webinar training for that. The first full reporting period is going to be January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2025. And so that annual report will be due March 31st, 2026. And that one for sure will be using NetMS4 when you go ahead and report. Even though the annual report is not available yet, the way to delegate responsibility to sign an annual report is already available through NetMS4. So if you are the signatory, you can go ahead and delegate signatory for annual reports to a duly authorized representative that meets the requirements of the rule. That is equivalent to what we in Texas call delegation of signatory. So in the NetMS4 system, it's called duly authorized representative, or DAR. That is available if you want to go ahead and delegate that already. Thank you. Next slide. Okay. Thank you. Turn it over to Jake.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. All right. So I see a lot of questions coming in. So I'm just going to take a quick pause here real quick to make sure that we are all okay in the questions area. And also I want to check on Hannah real quick. So if you can bear with me, I'm going to unshare my screen for 1 minute while I review some stuff for the next, I want to say 20, 30 seconds. Okay, let's see. Hannah is back. Okay, yes. So questions regarding will the recording be available and also the PowerPoint be available? So yes, a recording is going to be available. However, we have something called a 508 compliance process. Basically, it's for accessibility. So unfortunately, I can't post it immediately onto our ServiceNow support portal. However, I can make it by request. So if anyone would like a copy of the recording or access to the copy of the recording, you can email me afterward, and I'll be more than happy to send you a link to the recording. I do want to let you know that it does take a few hours for the video to render. So chances are I probably won't get it until much, much later in the day today. So if you can send me an email tomorrow or anytime after, I'll be more than happy to send it out then. And as for the PowerPoint that I'm using today, I posted a copy of it on the same site that you used to register for this training. Okay, and I'll show you again where it is. It's on our support portal. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can put it into the chat right now so that everyone get a copy. I'm not sure if I can attach it to the chat. Let me try. Okay. Let me try to do that for you real quick here while I have everyone here still. There you go. I posted a copy of today's PowerPoint into the chat as well. Okay. All right. Another question regarding PowerPoint. Let's see. And, um, All right, so there is a questions regarding whether MS4 is presently available. Yes, it actually is presently available. It's just as Rebecca said, the only portion that is not is the annual report because that's not due until later on well, not later on, the beginning of next year. And okay, so the other ones are the questions I can answer. The rest I will leave to Rebecca and her team. Okay, let's jump back into the PowerPoint. All right, Central Data Exchange Review. All right, so what is CDX? All right, it is the Environmental Protection Agency Central Data Exchange. Yeah, we just call it CDX. It is where we basically log in to access all the different program services that's available for electronic reporting. As you can see, we have plenty of systems in there. The main one to be concerned with would be the NET, or the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System reporting tool. All right, yes, a lot of words, but the acronym is just NET. And then basically after that, as a user, you're going to log into CDX. From CDX, you're going to access NET, and NetMS4 is a subset of NET. So basically that is the route that you take. All right. And it uses the signature agreement to authenticate an authorized user who can certify data. Certify is just another word for electronic signing. All right, things to know, roles and permission. All right, there is 2 roles available to permittees. All right, there is the signatory role, and then there is the preparer role. The signatory role is our individual who will be signing and certifying submissions or managing the facility user permissions. Signatory can also prepare the form. A preparer is an individual who will be viewing and editing form. A preparer not authorized to sign or certify the form. So basically, a preparer can prepare the form, but then they'll have to route it to a person with a signatory role in order to sign it. As you can see, on the right-hand side here, the available permission for each of those roles. Signatory has view, edit, sign, and manage. Meanwhile, the preparer only has the view and edit. All right, and then there's the RA role. The RA are just the regulatory authority, such as our fine folks from Texas TCEQ, or possibly one of the regional folks, or maybe even a headquarter person. Okay, and their role is to approve, deny, or hold or remove any of the new NOI or change NOI or renews, and review, renews, and things like that. They can also approve permission requests. However, a note on that is that they typically only approve permissions on the very first request. After that, once your facility has a person who can manage, all right, other users, they will, chances are, delegate those roles to that person. All right, and this is just a more visualized version. As you can see, the different roles and permissions. Signatory can basically do everything there. Meanwhile, a preparer can only view and edit the form. Okay. All right, the signatory role. All right, it is for municipality, state, federal, or other public agency, either a principal executive officer or a ranking elected official. If you need the guidance on that, there is a link right there that you can use. All right, now an important note for account sharing. All right, all permittee. Oh, I'm sorry, I need to change this. All right, all signatory must submit a electronic signature agreement, or also known as the ESA, which includes identity proofing. Okay. CDX user can only be registered to one person, or CDX account can only be registered to one person and cannot be shared or transferred. Misuse of credential for a government system is a federal offense. User's account will be locked due to violations. And if a individual is no longer associated with the company or facility, they must have their account deactivated. So basically saying is, you can't make a single account for your entire office, okay? It has to be for an individual person, because you are going to be signing and submitting form, basically stating that everything on that form is correct and was reviewed by you. If you want to think of it from a different perspective, it's basically when you certify in someone else's name or using someone else's account, that's basically you forging their signature. So please do not do that. If you are, just so you know, that once the system kind of figure out that that's happening, it will lock you out. It is a automated system. All right, and here is a example role for structure in NetMS4. Elected official, a signatory, main manager, possibly also the signatory. All right, and then it kind of trickles down, prepare, and contractor, prepare, and other type of signatory kind of answer to the main manager. And then maybe under the prepare, you'll have your contractors or your consultants that's preparing form for that person as well. All right. So once again, just a waterfall representation of how all these roles come together. All right, so next is creating a CDX account. We have recently, actually very recently, within the last month, changed our login process from just using purely CDX security and moving it over to something called login.gov. If you guys already have an account, chances are you've already seen it and you might have already done your transition. If you haven't yet, I will be talking about that here very shortly. But before I do, I'm just going to take another quick pause real quick to see if there's any questions that I need to address. Rebecca or Jesse, if there's any questions that you need me to address verbally or anything that I need to go over, please just let me know. Otherwise, I'll take a look at the Q&A myself too. But
yes, Jake, there's a question of whether or not a certificate will be available for this training for attendees.
So typically, no. These type of training is really just an FYI to show you how to use the system. We don't typically provide certificates for training. It's not a continuing education type of training. All right. Anything else?
For you, no, at least so far.
All right. Okay. All right. So let's move on. All right. So for the next, I want to say for next quite a few slides, I will be discussing how to create an account for CDX if you are a brand new user. All right. If you already have an account, but have not transitioned over to login.gov, or maybe you have, but just would like to add on the program service for MS4, please use this link that I've included on this slide for ServiceNow login.gov transition right here. It'll answer all your questions as well as provide step-by-step instruction on how you can go about adding in your program service and things like that. But for the brand new folks, all right, please pay attention for the next, I want to say, roughly 20 slides or so as to how we can go about creating your account with the new login.gov process. So first off, same as before, you will just get to the CDX website, which is right there. It's cdx.epa.gov. And once you're there, you're just going to click on register with CDX. All right. And then you're going to go down, read the term and condition, and then you're just going to hit proceed. All right. And actually, so before we go even further, I will make a note that so these step-by-step instructions were made for net as a whole and was not targeting MS4 in particular. So some of the screenshots is showing NetDMR. Some of the screenshot might be showing pre-treatment or things like that. Please don't mind that, because as far as the steps for MS4, it is still the same. It's just that, obviously, if you're not trying to get NetDMR, please don't click on NetDMR and locate MS4. Right? So from this screen, the active program service, you're just going to search for Net or NetMS4, and then you're going to click on NetMS4. And then you're going to select your role. Like I said before, the only two roles that's available for permittee would be for signatory and prepare. Don't even worry about that RA role, because those roles are for invitation only. So you won't even see them on any of the drop-down screen to select. So like I said, just pick the role that is right for you and then hit next. All right, after that, you're going to create a user ID, and then you're going to type in your email address. This is a trainer's note for you. I will almost always recommend that you use your email address for your user ID as well. That way you won't have an additional thing to remember. Like if your email address, for example, is win.jig@epa.gov, that is unique to you already. You don't have to make up another username specifically for you, so that, just one more thing to remember, right? All right, and then after you enter in that information, you're just going to, you will get the screen saying that you're now leaving CDX and will be transitioning over to login.gov. All right, so all you do from here is click on proceed to login.gov. Login.gov is actually a separate entity from CDX altogether. It is in an effort to standardize all login procedure for federal, actually it's federal and some state security services. So this is their create an account screen. From here, you're just going to go make sure that you create an account. If you already have a login.gov somewhere else as well, because you've accessed a different website before, then at this point you just need to sign in. That way it can link your CDX account to your login.gov. Okay, and like I said, all of this is stated in that Q&A link that I mentioned earlier. However, like I said, this is for new users. So for the purpose of this training, I will only be talking about how to create a new account and not the linking portion of the two. But yes, if you're new, so right here, you're just going to enter in your email address once again, and then they'll read the rules of use, and then you can click on that box to say that you've already read it, and then you hit submit. Login.gov at this point is going to send you a confirmation email. Just make sure that you get that little code that's in your email, and then from there you can copy and paste it over to confirm. Sometime it might land in your spam folder as well, so make sure to check your spam folder if you waited like a minute in your inbox and didn't see anything come in. Now, after confirming your email, you get to create a password. Password must be 12 characters or longer. And once you're done, you can just hit continue. All right, there are various authentication method that you can use. Basically, it is a two-step security process. So it is required that you pick a authentication method. There are quite a few here. You can use a authentication app. You can use your cell phone for voice or text. Actually, just phone. I guess it doesn't have to be a cell phone if you chose to use voice. All right, or you can use a backup code, a security key, or a government employee ID if you have those. Yes, and we always recommend that you use at least two different options. That way, if you happen to not have one available, you can use the other. For example, you can use the text as well as the backup codes, just in case you don't have your phone on you, or if you forget your backup code, you can use, vice versa, things like that. All right, if you choose the first option, all right, to get the app, it's going to give you a QR code. All right, all you have to do is use your phone, put on the camera, and scan that code, and it'll automatically download an app to your phone, and then you can use it to log in and get your security code then. So every time that you try to log into login.gov later, you just have to open up that app and use the code that's available to you. All right, and then if you use the phone options, all you have to do is enter in your phone, and that'll be it. You can choose to get a phone call or a text message. So once again, trainer tip, just because I have so many different test accounts across a lot of different platforms, I don't want additional things to remember. All right, so that has always been my basic rule. For me, doesn't have to be for you, but for me, keeping it simple is always the best policy. So this is my preferred method, is to just use my phone. I almost always have my phone on me, so that was another reason. So every time I log in, they'll send me my one-time login code on my phone, and I just use that to log in. So this is my preferred method, just to let you know. All right, third option.
Jake, yes. There's a question.
Yes.
If somebody's email address has changed, do we need to register under a new account, or can we go and update our email?
So if you already have a CDX account, all right, and your email address has changed, you do not need to create a new account. However, you will need to call into the CDX help desk and have one of the CDX help desk agent help you make that change. That is something that only an admin can do. So you won't be able to make that change on your own, but you can if you call in and have someone from the help desk do it for you. Okay. Yes, please don't make a new account because once you make a new account, your old account basically is just going to sit there, and you are going to lose access to everything that you've once had in your old account, and you basically have to restart from scratch. So no one would like that. I'm sure you'd rather have all of your document history available to you. So please just call in. Someone can help you with that. I want to say takes no more than 5 minutes on the phone with a person for them to make that change. All right. Once they verify that you are who you say you are, they can make that change for you on the spot. Not complicated at all. And I will provide that information to you towards the end during our resource slide. Okay. Anything else, Rebecca?
No, not right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So,
sorry. I do want to say one more thing. It's not in this right spot, but maybe some people join later. But please note that this webinar is only to address questions regarding accessing and using NetMS4. This webinar is not a training or to ask questions about technical questions on the general permit requirements. For that, please send an email to swgp@tcq.texas.gov, and we will answer your technical questions there, or you can call us at 512-239 4671. Again, please try to keep your questions related to NetMS4 and not the general permit so we can proceed with this a little bit better. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so third option, authentication for the third option for the authentication options will be backup codes. So backup codes, they will generally provide you with a list of 10 different codes. You can take a picture of it or you can write it down. But basically just keep this somewhere safe. All right, these codes can only be used once. Once you've used all of them, they'll automatically refresh and will provide you with new codes. Okay. Yes, but this is basically for if you don't want to use your phone or use the app. This is just a little piece of paper you want to leave by your desk. But once again, for me, I personally don't really like this because once you're just leaving your security codes, just on your desk, basically. All right, next is a security key. There are some company that provide you with a security key. I don't think for the bulk of us, I don't think most of us would have this, but there are some companies that provide you with this. So if you have a security key and would like to use it, please use it.
One more item as well.
Yes.
I see that some people are submitting questions through the chat. Please use the question and answer box for your questions. That's what we're being tracking and answering. It goes smoother than the chat. So please, if you have a question, submit your question through the Q&A process instead of the chat. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Rebecca. Yes, I would like to clarify, if you have questions, use the Q&A pod because we have everything from there logged. And like I said before, if something that we can answer you on the spot, we will. If we can't, we know exactly who asked the questions and we'll reach back out to you afterward with an answer. For the chat, it's really just for you to reach us if you, I guess if you're asking for additional clarification on something.
Okay, Jake, we have a question for you.
Sure.
Can the phone number for authentication be easily changed if necessary?
Yes, it can. The authentication number, because it's held through login.gov, so basically the next time you go on the login.gov, you can just go onto my account and make that change there. Very simple.
Thank you.
Yes, it is not a one-time thing where you enter in your phone number and that is it. That's going to be forever. No, as long as you remember your code, and that's why we use two different login methods as well. I mean, if you don't have one, then you can use the other. If you've accidentally changed your number prior to you making that change, you can use the other method. Yeah, you can even use an email. So that's really up to you. Okay. But yes, you can definitely go back and change it at a later time.
Another question.
Sure.
If the signatory person changes for an MS4, can they have two signatories or do they have to delete one account before they come in and add another signatory account?
I'm sorry, you were breaking up a little bit. Can you repeat that, Rebecca?
Can you have more than two signatories? Because
yes.
In case somebody changes and leaves, do you delete their account?
All right, I got it. So yes, you can have more than one signatory. As a matter of fact, you can have as many signatory as allowed by your company, mainly because if you have, let's say, 5-6 directors that's capable of fulfilling that requirement in order to sign and certify the form, by all means, all 6 of them should have signatory account. Okay. You can have as many as needed. Obviously, you don't want your custodial person to have access or to have that signature permissions. But otherwise, anyone that qualifies should have a signatory account. Okay. Yes, and then once a person leaves, all you have to do is deactivate that particular person's account or remove their access from that facility, and you are good to
go. Related to that, who will be the one to deactivate? If it's a signatory or preparer, who will have access to deactivate?
So it'll be the person with the managed permission. If you have the managed permission for the facility, you can go ahead and remove them. If they're not working with CDX anymore at all, then actually it's supposed to be their responsibility to call in to CDX and have that account deactivated. But I understand that a lot of time when people leave, they don't just like, oh, I'm going to call CDX and deactivate my account. Because the truth is, maybe they're leaving for a different company that might be doing the same thing. I mean, and that has happened quite often in the last few years, actually, where a person leave a facility or leave a company and ended up working for a different company, but doing the same job. So they still required to have a CDX account, but it's just access to a completely different sets of facility and different sets of organizations. And and then by that, that their email address changed as well. It used to be from bp.com and now it's shell.com or something like that. Just using that as an example. So they just change over. They just call in the CDX help desk. CDX help desk make that change and remove all of their past access, and they'll have to go back in and request access for the new facility. But that's about it.
Okay, so back to preparers and email addresses. Is there a maximum number of preparer accounts that an MS4 can be associated with? And also, is there a maximum of MS4s an email address can be associated to?
No, there's no limit. But like I said, with that said, there's no access. I mean, there's no limit. However, anyone that's requesting access should be the correct person. Like I said, you don't want to just give access to everybody. You just want to give access to the relevant folks, right? So just keep that in mind. There's no limit. However, it should be the people that's working on those forms that have access only. You don't want to grant access to everyone in your company. It'll just be people that's actively working on that particular form.
Yeah, that's a good point, because otherwise everybody's thinking somebody else is doing something and then nobody does it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, does the managed authority have to also be the signatory?
Yes. Only the signatory can have the managed authority or the managed permission. You can have a signatory that only do managing instead of signing also, right? The signatory role, the way I always see it, is basically similar to a driver license. Just because you have a driver license doesn't mean that you absolutely have to drive. You could have it to do other things with, such as just identity verification. So basically, you don't have to sign the form. It's just saying that you can if you need to, all right? But for the most part, you're managing other users. It'll be the same thing, okay? All right. If there's no more questions, I'm going to move on from here. All right. And then lastly, once you've picked out your backup, either your backup codes or whichever option it is that you choose, you're just going to complete the registration by clicking on agree and continue. All right, and here is where you're going to fill out your user personal information. All right, you're going to pick out your user IDs already been picked. You're going to fill out your name, and then you're going to pick out your security questions. Security questions are in the event of you losing access to your password and need to recover your password or recover your account username, things like that. They'll be using the security questions. Oh, note on that is also please use your legal name. All right. If your name is Robert, please use Robert and not Bob. mainly because if you're going to go through the identity verification process, it can only track legal names. And then if you use a shortened name or a nickname, you will fail that process because they will not be able to verify who you are. Next, security questions. 3 questions. Using the drop-down menu method, just make your pick and then enter them. Make sure that you do remember your password, and a note on that is that they are case sensitive. So typically for me, I always just leave them in lowercase so I don't have to worry about it. But like I said, for you guys, if you feel that it's more secure for certain words to be capitalized, please feel free, but just make sure that you do remember it. All right, and then after that, you're going to pick out your organization. Organization is your employer, okay? Not who you contract for or subcontract for. It is your employer, the person that's paying your or the company that's actually name is stated on your paycheck. All right, and then for whatever reason, if you're searching for your facility and you can't find your facility, it's a no data was found for matching criteria. In that case, please just request that we add your organization. There's a little link there. Yeah, all you have to do is click on that, and then the next page will come up where you can provide that information, right? And once you fill out all your information, you're just going to hit submit request for access. All right, then once you're done there, it's going to ask you for phone numbers or how to contact you, basically. So you're just going to enter in either your work cell phone or your office phone. That choice is yours. And then hit submit request for access when you're done. All right. And then once that's done, it's going to send you a verification code to your email. So you will have to check your email to get the code. I think on the next slide, it'll show you what that email will look like. Yes, so here it is. The email will come directly from helpdesk@epacdx.net. It's a whole lot of letters, so I don't even recommend that you write it down. Best method for this would be just copy and paste, just highlight them, copy, and then move over to your previous window and just paste them in, okay? A lot easier than writing them. Personal experience, I've written them down a couple times myself, and because it's so long, somehow I feel like every time I write them down, I always mess something up along the way. So yes, copy and paste is going to be your best bet. There you go. So enter that in and then hit register. And then if everything's correct, you're going to get a little green pop-up window saying, success, you have completed your core CDX account registration, and so forth. All right, so this is to backtrack a little bit on the organization portion. Earlier, I said if you could not find your organization, however, if your organization has a bit of a more generic name, then in that case, please make sure that you locate your organization. As you can see here, we have even just Environmental Protection Agency, we have quite a few, okay? So what you need to do in this case is make sure that it is it does have the correct address on there. And typically, if it does have the correct address, then that will be it. Make sure that you just use the hyperlink provided on the ID. So it's a organization ID right here on the left-hand side. Just click on that and it'll add it in for you. Yes, and these are all the same as I showed previously, but only if you were able to find your organization and click on it rather than having to enter in your information. Yes, Yes, same thing. This is when you add in your organization and yeah, confirming your email. Same process. Earlier, when you copy and paste your code, that is for you creating a new organization. This is for if you already have your organization and was able to find it. All right, lastly, we'll be entering your job title. All right, so at this stage, if you're a preparer, you are now done and you should have full access to MS4. However, if you're a signatory, you will have to continue with the identity proving process and then go into the electronic signature agreement. So this is where it branches off a little bit between a preparer versus a signatory. All right, so for the signatory, at this point, will have to enter in their legal name, home address, as well as phone number and birthday and last four of your social. And I fully understand that some of you are not comfortable with providing this level of personal information. However, it is necessary for LexisNexis, or this LexisNexis is our third party identification contractor, and for them to verify that you are who you say you are. All right, and I will let you know that they are very accurate and secure. To be honest, while in the previous years you hear a lot of data breaches from different company, I have never heard of a single one for LexisNexis. So just let you know of their a bit of their background. Okay. But if you are not comfortable with entering this information still, by all means, you can use the paper verification process. Okay, you don't have to go through electronic if you don't have to. However, for us, we will always recommend that you go through the electronic version, mainly because it is almost instantaneous. Like once you finish adding in this information and LexisNexis say that yes, he is or she is who they say they are, and get the thumbs up, you're basically good to go. You will have full access afterward. Meanwhile, if you go with the paper verification, basically you are going to have to print out the form, sign the form, fill out any additional information that's needed on the form, and then mail it in to us with the address provided. And then once you mail it in to us, let's say post office takes 2-3 days to get it to us. And then once it reaches us, it has to go into our mailroom, which will take approximately another day or two to get that letter to us. And then once it gets to our office, it really depends on who at the help desk is checking the mail that day. Once they receive it, they'll have to go through the process of verifying that information, look up your account, locate your account, and then make that approval. So as you can see, at the minimum, that's going to take about 5 to 6 business days. Okay, at a minimum. So just keep that in mind. If you're going with the paper process, is that it will take quite a bit longer. So if you are in a rush to get your account up and running, please plan accordingly. And this is what that ESA or that electronic signature agreement look like. Even if you went with the electronic version, it'll still provide you a copy that you can print out afterward, just for your personal record. However, if you were to go with the paper version, then yes, that is your only option, is to print it out and mail it. Yes, and if LexisNexis is unable to verify your identity for whatever reason, it'll give you this little message like, we are unable to verify your identity. So it'll just tell you to please print out the paper ESA and send it. All right, once everything's done, it's just saying accept. Please, yes, please read the pop-up, the legal pop-up, and hit accept. Now, if you were able to pass LexisNexis, you will get directed to the screen, and your role right here for MS4 is going to be in blue. It'll be a blue hyperlink. All right. And if for whatever reason either you went with the paper route or you did not pass LexisNexis verification, rather than a blue hyperlink, it'll still state your role, but it'll be in a plain text instead. You won't be able to click on it. That is how you know that that you will need someone from the help desk to approve your request before you can access. All right. And with that, please note that because I said it's about 5 to 6 business day, after 5 or 6 business day, if you still have not had this changed over from the plain text over to that blue hyperlink, in that case, please contact us. Please reach out to the help desk, and we'll be more than happy to assist you to locate your form. It could be that it didn't get there yet. If that's the case, at the very least, we will let you know as well. All right. But if it's been some time and this has not changed over, like I said, just please contact us. We'll work together to see where your form is at and how we can go about assisting you. Okay. All right, so this is just another reiteration of, I want to say, of sharing your password. All right, a couple of things to note here is that really just on number 2 and number 4. Important key takeaway here is I will be held legally bound, obligated, and responsible for any electronically signed submission I make, as I would be by making such submission in hard copy form with my handwritten signature. All right. And also, I agree to protect my username and password from use by anyone except me. I will not divulge or delegate my username or password to another individual. All right, once all that's done, the only thing you need to do is just log in, and that's pretty much it. All right, and same as before. So this will be the blue hyperlink that you get if your account is good to go. So if you want to access MS4, all you have to do is click on that at this point. A couple of things to note on the system's feature is that you can use almost every type of internet provider out there. All right, you can use Chrome, you can use Edge, Firefox, Safari even. There is a 15-minute timeout for inactivity. So if within 15 minutes you're not doing anything, you're not doing anything on screen, you will get locked out from CDX. All right, and the form, the MS4 form, the NOI, as well as later on for your annual report, it is considered as a smart form. So there are some questions and answers that will expand or contract the form as you're making your question. So basically, new questions will appear or disappear depending on your previous answer. Okay. All right, so that was a lot. Let's take a moment's break and see if there's any questions that I can address real quick before we move on from here.
Yes, Jesse, can you ask those 3 questions?
Yes, Jake. So the first question that I want to direct for you was following along and then click continue to CDX. It said bad requests. What do we do now?
All right. So because the login.gov transition is a security site, if it's a bad request, first of all, you have to kind of stop and look at your tab and see if that little processing roller is still working. If it is working, just please give it a minute. Sometime it takes a minute or so for it to go through. And when I say a minute, I literally mean a minute. It can be quite slow sometimes. I think some of you guys experienced a little bit of that this morning due to that server issue. But for the most part, from experience, I do see that eventually it goes through. And if you wait a while and it doesn't go through, please try again. And if the second time doesn't work, the only thing I can recommend is you try a different browser. Possibly, if you're using Chrome, then possibly try to switch over to Microsoft Edge and see if that would work. If you're continue to have service, bad service, or it's not working, in that case, please contact our help desk and see if our help desk can guide you through some of the troubleshooting process. Okay. But as far as the security side, I want to apologize. I don't work directly with them. I have brought that issue up before because I see it myself sometimes as well. But whether or not it's being fixed immediately or in the near future, I couldn't tell you.
All right. The next question is, when I request addition of my employer, an error message comes up and says, only one email can be used, but I don't have the option to change it.
I'm sorry, can you restate that, Jesse?
No worries. When I request the addition of my employer, an error message comes up and says only one email can be used, but I don't have the option to change it.
Huh. Okay. I'm sorry, but I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Whoever asked this, can you reach out to me afterward, or Jesse, if you can just highlight that questions for me. I will look into that after this and see what is going on personally.
Awesome. And there's one more question that I wanted to bring up. Is there a way of verifying if an email address already has a CDX account or a login.gov account?
So for the login.gov portion, I would think that you would just go on there and just click in forget password. And then once you enter in your email address, and they'll send you the new password. That's probably the best way to verify whether or not login.gov has an account on you. For CDX, this you will have to reach out to the admin. Correction, this you have to reach out to the help desk. But you don't have to reach out to the CDX help desk for this. Reach out to our help desk. So this is something that I was going to go into a little bit later, but since we have it up now, I'll discuss it. There's two separate help desks. All right, there is the CDX help desk, and then there is the NIPDs or the Net help desk. All right, which is actually ran by us. The NIPD's help desk is run by myself, a couple more members of my team, as well as our support contractors. So we have, I want to say roughly at any given time, almost 10 personnel on hand to assist you. The CDX help desk, I can't say for sure, but it's not something that they can help you with anyway, because for us, we can look up your email address as well as what program service you have associated with that email address. So yes, please reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to assist you. And if you need our contact information, it is towards the end of the PowerPoint under resources. And I will get to that towards the end. All right, anything else?
Yeah, so it's is the login.gov account setup that is needed? Is this the same login.gov account that the person uses to access a social security account or IRS account?
So I have not used it for IRS accounts, but I assume that it would be the same thing. So the whole point with login.gov is that the government, the federal government, wanted to basically uses every government site for one login purpose. They didn't want every government site to have a different login process. All right, so they wanted to have everybody together, and that's why I was saying earlier is that if you have a login.gov account already, you don't have to create a new one. You can just associate it with MS4. All right, so, or correction, associate with your CDX account, and the next time you go into CDX, you would just use the same one. Yes. So short answer is yes, it is supposed to be the same one. The only time I think you would need an additional login.gov account would be for the testing side, and yes, the testing side versus the production side. Production is the live data. And if you're a tester like myself, and I think some of the RA folks, perhaps, would have a test account. So then you would have that login.gov associated with a login.gov test account. Okay, anything else?
We do have a lot of questions. I guess we can go through them until you're ready to move on.
Okay. You know what? In that case, how
I,
about we continue for now, and then if you guys can sort out which one that we can address verbally, then I'll stop at the next point and we'll go over them.
I do have one more that I think might be
Sure,
quick.
sure.
What if your full name has a suffix?
I think you have an option to enter that in your form. I'm not quite sure. I'm sorry. I don't have that screen up on my other computer right now, so I can't tell you for sure. Maybe there's something that I can look up or research for you afterward.
All right, Jake. I think if you're ready, we can move on and maybe get to these later on.
Okay. All right. So next will be NOI Access. So just because you have an account in CDX and you've already logged into login.gov, all right, that is just, I want to say, the first half, right? The second half, you would still need access to your facility at the MS4 level, okay? All right, so once you click on your signatory role on CDX, it will take you to NetMS4. And this is what the landing page would typically look like. All right, a quick explanation for the very top navigation bar would be that little house right there would be your home icon, okay? It'll take you back to this particular landing page. And then there's the Action Center and then My Requests and Resources. Action Center and My Requests are two sides of the same coin, basically. One side, Action Center, is for any time that there is an action that's required for you, okay? Or correction, by you. Like if you're a signatory and you have a prepare that prepared a form and route it to you, it will show up in My Action Center. If you have the manage permission and someone requested access to one of the facility that you're managing, it will show up in My Action Center. My request, the opposite direction. All right, anything that you're requesting of others will be in there. If you are preparing a form and you route it to somebody else, goes into My Request. If you are requesting access to a different facility that you currently do not have access to, that will go into My Request. And then resources, as the name suggests, just additional resources. If you wanted to read up on the regulations or if you wanted to contact our help desk, it's under resources, as well as contact us. Contact us is just directly to us. So a little bit quicker than resources. Resources could provide some additional information prior to you attempting to contact us. Excuse me. And then lastly, it's a drop-down menu for My CDX. Under your username there, it'll give you the option to go back into my CDX or to log out. All right. So yes, anytime that you want to go back, you don't have to close the window and then log back in and all that. You can just click on that and choose My CDX to take you back to CDX rather than logging out every time. All right, and then you go down a little bit. If you need to find your MS4 regulated community, you could just click on that. And if you already have access to a facility, then you'll have them down here towards the bottom. And if you want to use the plus sign or the plus symbol, it will allow you to view the summary of your MS4 information. And then the action drop-down menu is just allows you to go into very specific view. Depending on which one you choose, it can go into your MS4 entry, manage coverage request, manage annual reports, which is not available until the beginning of next year. or manage user permission if you have that permission. And then, all right, and a couple of these will have the little eye icon next to it, additional information icon. It's just a view additional information if you wanted to look up what each of the statuses means and things like that. All right, and then lastly, column visibility. All right, you can adjust your or customize your columns to show different things. Either you can hide a few things or you can sort it depending on how you like it using the column visibility, all right? Yes, so things to note, if it's your very first time logging into MS4, chances are you're not going to have anything showing as far as my facility, okay? Because obviously you haven't made any requests for access just yet. So from here, you're just going to click on Find MS4 Regulated Community, and then you're going to type in the name or your permit number for that facility, and then just make your search. All right, once you make your search, you can click on the little, I want to say radio button here, little check mark right in front of them, and then hit Request Permission. If you are a signatory, you will have a choice of all 4 permissions. So view, edit, sign, and manage. All right. And it also states whether or not that particular facility already has a manager or another person with a managed role or not, or correction, manage permission or not. If that facility already has someone, it will state that it does with a yes. What that means is once you're done making your request and you would like to expedite if you would like to expedite the process, you can just reach out to that person that already have the managed permission and they can go ahead and approve you. However, if this is a no, that means you are going to be the first person to have the managed permission. All right. In that case, a state RA will have to make that first step and approve you. So chances are it could be Jesse or Rebecca or anyone on her team that will be doing that. All right, for the person with the managed permission, like I said, if you have the managed permission, someone requested access, and you just clicked on your action center, this is what that's going to look like. Oh, a request was done on so-and-so date by username so-and-so, and these are the permissions that they're asking for, all right? So you can hit apply right here if you want to, or you can uncheck whichever it is that you feel is necessary, and hit apply then. If you need additional information on that user, you could just click on their username and it'll give a some detailed information about that user, such as their full name, contact information, things like that. And this is back to another question that Rebecca asked earlier. How many can you have, or can you approve everybody? You can have as many users as you want, but once again, you do want to make sure that that person is relevant for your particular facility. You don't want to just add anybody off the streets in there. All right, so just please keep that in mind, is that you do need to verify that they are supposed to be there. I know some companies are big, and you couldn't possibly keep track of every employee there. All right, but if you are in a manager position or someone that has the managed permission, it is your responsibility to verify that user before adding them. All right. I'm sorry, folks. Not sure why I'm coughing so much.
Jake, since you were on that slide, there's a question about what's the difference between a signatory and a managing role?
So a signatory is a person that can sign and manage. So that is the role that's assigned by CDX. Based on that role, you have access to certain permission. And those, for a signatory, you have access to all 4 permissions. All right, view, edit, sign, and manage. You don't have to be able to sign every facility, or you don't even have to manage every facility. But it's just saying that you can. You are in a position that you are able to if needed. Okay. So that is the difference. And a prepare would only have the view and edit. They can only view the form and edit the form. They won't be able to sign it, and they definitely cannot manage other users. Okay.
So one of the other questions related is, what if all the options are grayed out except view?
If all the options are grayed out except view, so chances are you've already made a request and you just didn't request for view just yet. And let's say the edit, sign, and manage is already sitting in someone's box. That chances are that might be why it's grayed out, because you won't really. First of all, that could be a possibility, or actually, I really can't think of another one. The only I can think of another reason would be, for whatever reason, for that particular facility, you're only allowed view. But it's from a user's point of view. So I think it's because you've already made requests once and it hasn't been approved yet. That's why. If you're still having problem with that, that's another questions that I think that I can help, but not during the webinar. I can look at your individual account later and try to figure out what happened and see if I can help you then. Okay. Yeah. So after this training, if you're still having a problem with that, please reach out to me, and I'll sit down and see what I can do for you. We can figure this out together. All right. Anything else? Okay, I will check that as a no. All right, so there are a couple ways to access your NOIs for your MS4. All right. First off, you get once you made your request and it's been approved and you have access to it, you can go into your homepage, and then you can go down, click that little plus sign to expand it first. That way you can see the coverage request, and then you can use coverage request, action drop down, or edit. All right, and then if you have any pending coverage requests, it'll be in your Action Center. So you can go to Action Center and scroll through the tabs, find the one that say pending coverage request, and then if you have one that's just pending there, it'll be right there for you to keep track of. All right, so that was a lot on my part for the last hour. So I will turn it over to Hannah now for the live demo of NOI and waiver forms. Hannah, please let me know if you are okay to do that demo. If not, then I can do my best to assist if need be. You are on mute if you are speaking. I still don't hear anything. Oh, there you go.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Hannah Kobos. I wasn't able to introduce myself earlier, but I'm on the TCEQ Stormwater team, and I will be doing a live demo of the NOI and the waiver process. So let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. Jake, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So you're able to see the MS4 or the NOI form?
Yes, we see everything.
All right, awesome. Just wanted to make sure. Okay, so to preface, we will be going over the NOI more in depth because of our current universe. However, there are sections that are very similar to the waiver application if that is applicable to your MS4. So as you can see in the collapsed view, you can view an overview of all of the sections that are required to be completed in your application. And the sections that are similar to the waiver application are the beginning options, so MS4 entity information, MS4 contact information, the core data form, regulated entity information, receiving waters information, and at the bottom there is an option for notes and additional information. So those will all be very similar to the waiver form. So to begin, we will start with the MS4 entity information. As you can see, there's a lock icon, meaning that this section is already locked as the information is already inputted from the existing MS4 file. Therefore, you're unable to change any data that is within this section. So if you have any questions or concerns about the data that is listed here, please contact us by phone or email. The application fee information. So there is an application fee of $400 that is required to be paid at the time the NOI is submitted. And you can submit your payment via mail or by paying online through TCEQ's ePay system. Please note that these red asterisks indicate required fields for you to fill out. So to pay online through the ePay site, which you can access by clicking on the ePay text, and it will take you to our ePay page for you to pay. If you are paying by mail, if you click on the $400 application fee text, it will give you the addresses for your payment if you want to send that by check or money order. And again, you must fill out all of these text boxes. And another important thing to note is that if you pay by ePay, you must provide your voucher number in this field right here, and you must also include a copy of your payment voucher as an attachment, which you can do here. The next section is for the MS4 contact information. I've already gone ahead and filled out this information for the section, but you will need to provide this information for your MS4 as it applies to you. So the first name, last name, title, organization, phone number, and email, as well as the MS4 contact mailing address. So the MS4 operator contact, for clarification, is the person that is responsible for the management and the operation of the MS4, and that is subject to the terms and conditions of the general permit, and they will also sign and certify the application. So again, with the address, you must first verify the address with the USPS website, which is located on this informational text. It will provide a link if you hover over it with the blue highlighted text. And it must be an address for delivery of regular mail and not of overnight express mail. Again, I've already excuse me, did I just log out? Sorry about that. So back to the contact information. You'll also need to add the application contact. Again, I've already pre-populated this data. But another important thing to note is that the application contact is the person that TCEQ will contact for any additional information about the application. So that is a required field. And if your application contact is a third party, such as a consultant, you will also need to list an MS4 program contact as well. And that person should be familiar with the implementation of the MS4 program. So you can do that by pressing the add contact text which you can see here, and you can add as many as necessary for your facility. The annual billing contact information. This section is for you to provide a contact and mailing address in order for the water quality annual fee to be assessed. And this is done on September 1st of each permit year for active permits. And the bill will be sent to the address that's listed on this section. Core data form. So if you are an existing MS4, you will already have a customer number or a CN for your MS4, which you will type in this box. If not, one will be assigned to you. You can also use TCEQ's Central Registry database, which you can access by clicking on this text. And as you can see, it'll take you to the database main page, and you can search by customer number as the first option. So you'll input that customer number at the top if you're already an existing customer. And the next question asks for the legal name of the entity exactly as it is filed with the Texas Secretary of State, or the county, or in the legal document forming the entity. You must also complete and attach a core data form, which is TCEQ form 10400, which you can access by clicking on the highlighted text, and it'll provide you with instructions and the form. So you can see that here. This is the form and the instructions. Regulated entity information. If you're already an existing MS4, you will have a regulated entity number already associated with your MS4, which you will input below. And again, you can use that central registry database to find that by clicking on the second option for regulated entity search. The next question is the name of the site as known by your local community. And then the following question is the name of the urban area or the areas that your MS4 is located within. And if you hover over the informational text, you can find the links to the 2020 US Census maps, which are available online, as well as our TCEQ webpage, which has more information on urban areas, as well as a list of all of the urban areas in Texas with populations greater than 50,000. So I'll go ahead and click on one of these just for you all to see. So if you scroll down again, you can find that list and the official urban area name. And then lastly, for this section, you'll also need to provide a brief description of the regulated MS4 boundaries, which I've included an example here. And again, if you have more, you can have more than one urban area, and it allows you to input multiple from a drop-down list. Standing with TCEQ, this section is to confirm that no delinquent fees are owed in advance of submitting your NOI. TCEQ doesn't issue, amend, or renew any permit authorizations to an entity or to a person who's delinquent on any penalties or fees, including those not for stormwater general permits. And you can check the status of your account by clicking on this text, and it will provide a pop-up link for you to go to TCEQ's financial webpage, which will appear here. However, you also have the option of contacting TCEQ's Financial Administration Division at this number listed to inquire about your account, as well as if you do have delinquent fees, on more information on how you can pay those, or if you have any questions. So once you look that up, it's important to note that you will be searching for your regulated entities compliance history satisfaction. So when you click on TCEQ's compliance history database search, it's important to note that you will be searching by either RN or the regulated entity name. And this is again to check compliance with TCEQ. And the options, the classification will either be high, satisfactory, unsatisfactory, or unclassified, or if you're a new MS4, you will choose the new RN, no classification available option. So if you're a site with an RN classification of unsatisfactory, you will need to stop filling out the application and contact our stormwater team about the next steps and how to proceed. The MS4 general information section starts out with asking if your MS4 was formally designated by TCEQ as needing coverage under this general permit. Please note that this is not the same thing as being identified because of a US census change. It's uncommon for a small MS4 to be formally designated. And as of now, we don't have any designated, or we have not designated any MS4s. Therefore, this shouldn't be an option for anyone currently. However, if you are formally designated, you will need to attach a copy of the documentation that was sent to you from TCEQ that formally designates you as needing coverage. And you would attach that file here. The next part is for you to select your MS4 level, which is based on the population served within the urban area, with a population of 50,000 or more people, and that is based on the 2020 decennial census. So for the purposes of this demonstration, I will choose level 2A, as most of our universe operates as a level 2 MS4. So I've selected that one. And the following question is asking for you to list the estimated current population that's served by your MS4 at the time of completing or that you're filling out this application. This number's not used to determine these levels up above, so just keep that in mind. And also, you can't input any commas within this text field. It has to just be numbers for it to work properly. And if you're part of a coalition, you will need to select your MS4 coalition members that are responsible for the implementation of your stormwater management program and their unique TXR04 identification numbers, if available. So for example, if I'm in a coalition with Bell County MS4, I can add that, and I can add as many as necessary. So I can add more than one. And you can see the NIPTs or the TXR04 ID. And you will also need to identify the coalition member who's responsible for submitting the majority of the annual report, or the AR. So you'll indicate who has that responsibility by checking off who has that. And if it's left blank, then that means that you as the MS4 are responsible for the majority of the annual report. So moving on to the next section, as a disclaimer, I will be going through all of the possible options that you can have. So therefore, you may not see all of the questions on your side, depending on your information and how you answer the questions. So to start, you'll need to input the name of the first water body that receives the stormwater discharges from your small MS4, and determine if that is a classified stream segment as established by TCEQ. And you can find classified segment numbers on our Surface Water Quality Segments Viewer webpage, which is provided at this link. and make sure you click this Surface Water Quality Viewer text in order to open the application. Next, you also need to determine if your small MS4 discharges directly or indirectly to that water body. Something I forgot to mention for this one is that it is a drop-down list, so you can choose pretty easily which water body is the classified segment, if applicable. Additionally, you'll also need to determine if that water body is listed as a Category 5 impairment on the Texas Integrated Report. You can determine this by using the most recent TCEQ and EPA-approved Texas Integrated Report on surface water quality, which is available at this link. If you click on it, you can scroll down to the most recent integrated report, which is currently the 2022 Texas Integrated Report. So that is available for you all. And if it is listed as a Category 5 impairment, you'll also need to list the pollutant or the pollutants of concern, meaning that those are the parameters that the water body is impaired for. So most commonly, for example, bacteria, or if you want it, you can add more pollutants if that's applicable to that water body. So I just did total suspended solids just as an example. And then you also lastly need to determine if the water body is listed as impaired with an approved total maximum daily load, or TMDL. So if you click on this web page, or if you click on the text that says TMDL, it'll take you to this web page. Please note that the web pages have been recently updated and reorganized, and that you can now download an Excel spreadsheet with a summary of the completed TMDLs and their I-plans or implementation plans. It also includes segment numbers and names, as well as adoption dates and whether their approval is pending or approved. So you can click on that and download that for your reference and use. And then if there are pollutants, if you do discharge to a water body that's listed as impaired with an approved TMDL, you'll also need to list the pollutant or the pollutants of concern, which, just for demonstration purposes, I added bacteria, but you can add more as well. And then you'll need to go ahead and save that water body. And please keep in mind that you'll need to go through this process for all of the receiving water bodies from your MS4. And you can do that by clicking the Add Water Body. The next section is the Stormwater Management Program, or the SWAMP. This section is to certify that you as an MS4 have reassessed and developed your SWAMP according to the terms and the conditions of the 2024 Phase 2 MS4 General Permit. So as you know, we've since moved from a two-step general permit to a comprehensive general permit, which takes a more prescriptive approach. Therefore, you need to have developed your SWAMP prior to submitting and filling out your NOI application. And if you are a new MS4, you would choose a second option that you didn't have a previous authorization. And this question is regarding is for you to indicate whether or not, based on your SWAMP, you're choosing to implement the optional 8th minimum control measure, or MCM, for municipal construction activities. So if you are choosing to implement this MCM, you'll need to let us know if this implementation is limited to the regulated area within the urban area. And just for demonstration purposes, just to show you all of the possible options, if that's not applicable to you, if you're not doing that based on your SWAMP, then you must certify that you've developed your SWAMP an OA that incorporates the entire area, both urban and non-urban areas, and implement all of the MCMs in those areas, in both those urban and non-urban areas. And lastly, if you have a web page where your swamp and annual reports will be posted for public view, you will need to provide the URL address in this text box. And just before I forget, we're also developing our small business and local government assistance is developing a swamp template for level 1 and 2 MS4s. However, it's available for levels 1 through 4. The only difference being that you would need to add additional BMPs as a level 3 and 4. And you can find that resource, which we anticipate being made available in early October by hovering over the text and going to this Small Business and Local Government Assistance webpage, which is here. So moving on to the minimum control measures, please note that MCMs 1 through 7 will ask if your MS4 is relying on another governmental entity to help meet the BMP and measurable goal requirements. And to proceed with the application, you must certify that your MS4's public education and outreach program at a minimum includes the residents that are being served as a target audience within your swamp. So your swamp needs to have already been tailored for that target audience. And then you'll also need to indicate which specific pollutants you're targeting in your MS4's education program as described in your swamp. And each small MS4 must have a minimum of 1 target audience from this list as for each target audience. And you can also list other if none of these apply to your MS4 and type in what you are doing or what pollutant is being addressed instead of these. So for example, if I have 2 target audiences, then I need to select 2 pollutants that are being addressed. And then the following question is if your MS4 has a website for this MCM, and you'll need to provide the URL in this text box right here. And then for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to MCM3 since MCM2 for public involvement and participation is very similar to MCM1. So moving on to MCM3, which is illicit discharge detection and elimination, or the IDDE program. So again, there's that first question about whether or not you're receiving help from another governmental entity to meet these requirements. Again, you must have developed and implemented your swamp prior to completing the NOI so that you can fill out this information. So in choosing yes, you acknowledge that you understand that your MS4 must implement all of the following BMPs and measurable goals based on your level and as described within your stormwater management program. So for example, this first one here is you have in your swamp a plan to maintain a current and accurate MS4 map by reviewing and updating as necessary at least 1 time annually to include new features which have been added, removed, or changed. And then you will need to indicate whether that map has been developed, and if so, what date that was developed. It can't be a date in the future. And if your map is currently under development, you can indicate that as well. Again, levels 3 and 4 will have more BMPs. We'll see more additional BMPs on their form. And I am going to go ahead and scroll down to MCM6 as MCM4 and 5 are also similar. So MCM6 for pollution prevention and good housekeeping for municipal operations. So there are some BMPs that will require you to select additional applicable BMPs that you've already developed and included within your swamp. So for example, for the part of your swamp that describes pollution prevention measures and how you will reduce the discharge of pollutants in stormwater from your permittee-owned operations, you'll need to indicate at least 2 of the listed pollution prevention measures you have chosen to implement within your swamp. So that will be here. And again, more BMPs will appear if you are a level 3 or 4 MS4. And again, I chose level 2 just because that is the majority of our MS4 universe. And as you can see also in the collapsed view, since I did choose level 2, I don't have an option for MCM7, which is industrial stormwater sources. So you will only see that MCM if you're a level 4 MS4. And again, MCM8, which I indicated in the beginning that my MS4 would be implementing, refers to that optional MCM for municipal construction activities. And then moving on to the notes and additional information section, you can provide TCEQ with any additional notes or information you would like us to have regarding your MS4 program or your swamp in this text box, or also by uploading the space as needed, any attachments or documents that you deem necessary for your application. But that is optional as well. As you can see, you can also choose no. And lastly, the certification information. If you have a preparer role, such as, let's say, for example, you're a consultant and you're not a signatory, you would need to flag the form for certification in order for the signatory to sign the application or the NOI and to complete the submission process. So you'll only see the certify option, which is this top option here, and sign the application if you have a sign role or permission in CDX. So the form must be certified by a user who has that signed permission in order to complete the submission process. And you can also save the application, which doesn't submit your form, if you want to return to the form later. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to show you all what a waiver looks like. So let me go to the form. So again, there are similar sections to the NOI in the waiver application. So again, that's the MS4 entity information, which is here. The MS4 contact information, which I've already, again, filled out just for the sake of time. But you'll need to go ahead and input that information, the core data form as well. And also the receiving waters information is very similar to the NOI application. So you'll go through that same process for your water bodies. And as well as the notes and additional information section is essentially the same. The main difference is that the waiver eligibility section, which is this section here, will need to be completed. So you'll need to indicate whether or not you're seeking to implement waiver option 1 or waiver option 2. So for example, the first question for waiver, regardless of if you choose waiver option 1 or 2, is the estimated population that's served by your MS4 based on the 2020 census. Again, I've chosen option 1, and I've chosen all of the possible options in order for you to see all of the questions. So just to go through it really quickly, it'll ask you if the urban area, if your MS4 is located within an urban area with a population of 50,000 or more, and if it serves a population of less than 1,000 based on the 2020 US Census. And from that, it'll ask you these series of questions. You can also find these requirements within the permit as well. They're described in more detail there. And if, for the last question, if you do discharge to a water body that has an established TMDL that addresses the pollutant of concern that's discharged by the MS4, and that TMDL or I-Plan has or requires stormwater controls to address that pollutant of concern based on waste load allocations, that will indicate that you're not eligible for a waiver, and you would need to apply for an NOI. And you would do so by contacting us again at this 4671 extension, or by emailing the SWGP mailbox. And the rest of the information is the same. So if I have the signed permission on my account. So if that was applicable to you, I could certify the form, or I could flag it for certification for another user who has a signed permission to sign that and complete the submission process. So I'm just going to go ahead and save and return home. And I will give it back over to Jake to continue.
Thank you, Hannah. That was a great demonstration of both the NOI and the waiver. Again, we went through level 2. However, as you can see, the questions will pop out and come up based on what your level is and how the answers are. So make for your MS4 based on the questions and answers, you will continue to get what we call child questions. So please make sure that when you are ready to go in to start completing your application, that you have your stormwater management program ready, revised and updated, so that you can use it to answer the questions.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. All right, so while Hannah was doing her demo, I answered a lot of your Q&A questions, and I do see 1 or 2 questions that came up quite often, so I'll just reiterate it one more time. All right, if you are a preparer signing up and your facility does not already have a user with the managed permission, all right, those requests in that case will go directly to TCEQ. TCEQ, typically based on Rebecca's response, would take typically a day or 2 to review your request. Basically, they do need to verify that you do work on that project before they approve you. But once they're finished with their checks, they'll make that approval. And like I said, 1 or 2 days should be more than sufficient. All right, and yes, and if you have signed up for the wrong role in CDX, that you should have signatory instead of preparer, I've added the link for step-by-step instruction on how to make that change in CDX in there already. Okay, I might add it again in the chat towards the end here when I have a little bit more time. And yes, and last question was, if you only need the managed permission and not signatory, which role do you need? You will still need the signatory role. As I said before, just because you have the signatory role does not necessarily mean that you have to sign the form. It does give you the ability to manage other user. Okay, so the only thing that you will need to do afterward is make sure that you don't have that signatory. Correction, you don't need to make that signature sign permission in MS4. You only need to check the manage permission request. Okay. All right, back into the PowerPoint. Give me 1 second. Sorry. I was sharing my screen already. Share. All right, so next we're going to discuss the permit search tool, public version. So right here on the top left is the URL for the permit search. Right, the permit search can be used to search for permit records and related submissions for general permits implement in EPA's NIPD's e-reporting tool. All right, it includes coverage requests and certain type of reports. All right, just make sure that your program area is listed for municipal stormwater and the issuer is Texas. Okay. And this is what the permit search result will look like. If there is any corresponding documents, it will be right here on the right-hand side. For example, City of South Lake is right there, copy of record or the zip file. All right, next is change NOIs. All right, in order to make a change NOI, it's quite easy as well. You just have to go into your permit, all right? And then under your permit, in order to get to here, you have to expand that little plus sign. Once you hit on that plus sign, you get the coverage request. And from coverage requests, you can use the action drop-down menu and click on create change. And that's it. Once you've made your changes, you will be asked to certify your form. And this is what that portion is going to look like. As Hannah did hers earlier, you just have to go down the list, make sure that you get all of these blue check marks. All right, and none of them should be a little red triangle like this one. If you do get a red triangle like this on any of the section, that just means you're either missing key information or something that you've entered was out of range. So all you have to do is go back in, make that correction. It'll be highlighted in red for you once you expand out that section, okay? And then towards the bottom, you'll find your certification information tab. Based on what you want to do, you just make your selection. In this case, we want to certify the form, so we just click on certify form and hit next. All right, if you just want to save and return later, you can certainly do that. Or if you're just flagging for certification, flagging it for someone else to sign, then in that case, make that selection in the middle, say flag for certification. In that case, it'll be routed to a different user with the sign permission. Okay, and if you are so this screenshot was taken based on a signatory role. If you are a preparer, all right, you will not have that very top option to certify the form. You just get these two bottom ones, the flag for certification and the save and return home. All right, so they'll have another legal statement that pops up. All you have to do is read it and hit accept. And then you will receive an email saying that your form has been certified, and a second email stating that a state RA needs to act on the form. So basically, it'll just be on hold until the state RA approves it. So basically, that'll be Rebecca and her team that will be doing that. Your state RA will now review and approve your NOI. All right, and once that approval process is done, you'll get this cool certificate from TCEQ. All right, with their emblem as well as a signature from their deputy director. All right. Next, we're going to discuss the application review process. So with this, I will turn it back over to Rebecca.
Okay. Thank you. You've now learned how to prepare, submit the application. And then once you submit it and you complete that process by signing and certifying, then you're going to get that email saying, that you've submitted your application. Then we're going to get an email saying that there's an application waiting from you for us to review. So we're not going to be doing a technical review like we did before. Again, the stormwater management program is not submitted to us, but we do have to look at information that you submitted in the application, such as, need to confirm, delinquent fees. We need to confirm compliance history rating. We need to confirm, payment. We need to confirm, the core data form. Since the core data form is going to be an attachment, we have to, get that attachment, look at it, and see what we need to do with it, and see if all the information is adequate, in order for us to continue. Then we look at all the information, is appropriate for your level. And once we do that, if there are any deficiencies, just like before, we're doing an administrative review. If there's any deficiencies that we note in the application, then we will go ahead and let you know that the application has been denied. That is what, unfortunately, the term that NetMS4 uses, but that is equivalent to what we call our notice of deficiency, or an NOD. So that's the only way that we're going to be able to work with the NOD process. You will receive an email that has comments of why we are sending you that notice of deficiency or that denial. So you receive that email, you will then need to address that issue that is included in those comments in the email that you receive. And then you will go ahead and resubmit through NetMS4 your application. Do not be scared. It's going to look like you have a new submittal date, which is correct. You are going to have a new submittal date. But please note that we are honoring the first original attempt for the application submittal date. So let's say you submit your application on February 1st, and, everybody submitting their application on February 1st, and we have a backlog of 100 applications to review, and we don't get it submitted. We don't get to review it and send you the notice of deficiency or denial until February 30th, maybe February, let's have 30 days, February 29th. And at that point, then you're going to respond, and it'll show like you submitted an application, on March 10th, which is after the renewal date. That's okay. Don't worry, because like I said, we're going to be honoring your first submittal date for that application, which was, for example, February 1st. We're going to honor that date. So just know that the notice of deficiency process is going to look a little bit different than what you're used to, because of course we're NetMS4 and we have to conform to what the system can handle. So if you have any questions, if you receive an email based on a review that has comments and you're wondering how to process, feel free to call us or email us, and we'll help you through that process. Next slide. Okay, that's it for me. That was a short slide.
Thank you, Rebecca. All right, so we're reaching the final stretch. We are now going to discuss resources. All right, so as I mentioned throughout this training, we do have a support portal. It is called ServiceNow. And right above there is the URL for it. All right, and once again, the recording for today's training will eventually get posted here. However, we do have a 508 compliance process that we need to go through, and that does take quite a bit of time. So in the meanwhile, rather than having you just wait for it, if you would like to have a copy of this, please either reach out to TCEQ afterward or to myself. I'll be more than happy to provide you a link to the recording. And as such, I will also be sharing that recording with TCEQ so they can share it out with you guys if anyone need to get access to it.
So yeah, let me add to that, Jake. So yeah, for EPA to have the official, presentation from this webinar, it will take them longer, but we're going to request that copy, and maybe in 2 to 3 weeks or maybe less, I don't know, can't promise, we will have it available on our website. But in the meantime, as Jake says, if you request it from him or us, then we'll be able to send it in the meantime while we wait for it to get reviewed and approved to get posted.
Thank you. All right, so here are some useful links that you might find useful. All right, first is the Launch MS4. All right, next is the Texas MS4 website. And then there is our Net Support Portal, ServiceNow, how new users are going to register, overview fact sheets, any general net information, as well as additional resources for new net users. And then lastly is the login.gov transition. All right, for the CDX side, here are two relevant links that CDX usually assists with, is CDX password recovery, as well as user ID recovery. Like if you haven't logged in for a while and you forgot your user ID, please use this link, and that it'll help you recover your user ID. All right, now, as I stated before, there are two separate help desks, okay? I understand that it can be quite confusing because you're like, oh, it's the same system. Well, it's the same system, but depending on which portion, it is manned by different a different group. So for the EPA help desk or the NIPTES help desk or the NET help desk, so many different names for the same thing. It is manned by myself and the rest of my team. It is this very top one right here. We do any kind of ServiceNow supported request. Here is our email address as well as phone number. The email address is npdes_ereporting@epa.gov. I understand that it seems like a lot of jumbled letters thrown together, but it is NIPTES or NPDES ereporting@epa.gov. All right, if you think about it like that, it'll be a little bit easier to remember. But otherwise, we also have our phone number here if you rather just call us. And you can contact us for basically anything regarding how to get additional information on how to create your account, changing your email address organization, to requesting access to certain permit. All right, and then the CDX help desk. CDX help desk, here is their contact information if you ever need it, as well as their phone number. But really the only thing that you can do with them are, I believe, three different things. It's changing your legal name. All right, changing your legal name, and you might ask, oh, why does anyone ever need that? Well, some people, when they get married, I guess they change their last name, and they do need to make that official because especially if you're a signatory, it does have to reflect your legal name. So contacting the CDX help desk would be the only way for you to make that change. And lastly is your official email. As I stated before, if you used to work for one entity and then you change and work for a different entity, but still require the usage of your official email, in that case, you'll need to contact them as well. All right. And other than that, that is it for today's training. If you have any additional questions, please continue to put them into your Q&A. And we will continue monitoring for the next few minutes. All right. Yeah, and then if we don't see any questions for a while, I guess that'll be it for the day. Other than that, thank you everyone for attending today's training, and good luck to you with your NOIs and your annual report in the future. Please keep in mind that we will likely schedule another training within the next few months on the annual report. All right, so please keep an eye out for that. TCEQ will be making those announcements once we have additional information to provide it to you. Anything else you would like to add, Rebecca or Hannah?
No, first of all, thank you, Jake. Appreciate this. And yes, everybody, please know that the presentation will be available. The webinar will be available. So don't be concerned that this is the last time you see it. I know that, some of you are saying there's a lot of information, but luckily, there's some guides, there's the slides you'll be able to access. You'll be able to see the webinar in, over and over as many times as you want to see it. And of course, as Jake said, there's resources available. You also have us, TCQ, available that you can send us emails, you can call us, of course. And it just depends on how many of you are sending us questions. It might take a little time for us to respond. But I do want to address the how soon are we going to approve permissions. So right now we do have, over, I think almost 100 permissions that are waiting for us to review and approve. We're going to start working on that tomorrow. And so people should start seeing their permissions approved or granted, or we'll, come back and let you know if we denied it. So please be looking for that. And then, you can go ahead, like I said, again, update your stormwater management program, revise it, develop it, have it ready so that you can go ahead and submit your NOI or the waiver. For the waiver, you don't need in a stormwater management program. The waiver is a lot simpler. Again, yes, the process is such as it is, so you do have to have the signatory person sign in, and the preparer can prepare everything for that signatory, everything from step 1 through the end, and just have it ready so that that signatory can go in and sign and certify and submit the NOI. Yes, they are going to have to go through the CDX and login.gov process. But, if you, the preparer or consultant or contractor or somebody else working for that signatory, you can sit down with them and show them how to do that. And then you'll be ready to have them sign and submit the application. So other than that, as Jake said, feel free to continue to submit questions in the Q&A, and we'll be available to answer them. If we didn't answer your question right now, we'll go ahead and answer it separately in an email. Again, technical questions were not the purpose of this webinar. We did answer some technical questions, but really, the technical questions, sometimes you need more specificity, more details. So please email us to our SWGP mailbox, as we mentioned before, with specifics, or ask for us to call you and we can talk about your specifics regarding when your annual report is due for year 6 or year 7 or year 1, because there's nuances that are different depending on the type of and level of MS4 that you are in the reporting period that you currently have because of the 2019 general permit cycle. As a reminder, everybody now moving to the comprehensive general permit, your reporting period is now a calendar year. So that's what's going to be further. Moving forward, that's what you're going to have. You're no longer going to have a fiscal year. You're no longer going to have a permit year. You're going to have now a calendar year. Again, annual report questions, please give us a call or email us and we'll discuss specifics. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. All right. And